What's up, everybody? Celtics Talk Podcast back at you with Celtics Summer League in the rearview mirror. 5 games out in Las Vegas. We are ready to overreact to that small sample, scramble the hype trains, what you would be excited about, what players will carry that into the regular season. Who might we actually see on the floor for Boston during the 2025-26 season? Also, a couple other little headlines bubbling up. Marcus Smart, old friend, head to the Lakers. Might have to start there. And a Ben Simmons rumor that came out of nowhere, seemingly today as well. My buddy Brian Robb from MassLive is going to join us. He was out in Vegas with his up close reaction to those guys. But let's start with Smart. And I'm interested to get B-Rob's opinion on this. But I do want to just start that when that news comes across. I don't know. Maybe I guess it's part of the old school in me. Maybe it's the longing for the reunion. I joked in the aftermath as the Celtics were pulling apart this roster. Maybe try to start, if Marcus was going to get bought out in Washington, could you put together some of the old band? But it was a little bit jarring to see him latch on here with the Lakers, and he's going to get a buyout from Washington, make up the difference in his $26 million salary. The final year of that extension he signed here, 4 years, $77 million, I believe it was, with Boston. You know, it's weird. Like, there was a time where it just felt like Marcus was going to perpetually be a lifelong Boston Celtic. And we know that didn't happen. We know that their changes had to happen in order to maybe for the Celtics to take that next step. I think it's forever will be one of those things like, would they have won if they have maintained the Robert Williams, Marcus Smart core, and with the internal development of the Jays and everything that happened, or did you need the influence of Kristaps Porzingis and certainly Drew Holiday and how good Drew was during that 2024 playoff run? But even since Marcus has departed, he hasn't played a whole lot of games, limited due to injuries, both with Memphis and then obviously a Wizards team that was in tank mode, and so. I don't know if we've gotten the full experience of Marcus being away from Boston. Well, we're going to get it now because he's heading to the Lakers, and even if it's just twice annual meetings, those matchups have a little bit more pizzazz. And look, he might just be the stage of his career, coming off the bench, just being kind of a defensive guy next to Luka. That's weird to say. But it clearly the Lakers want to be in the mix out in the West. They have to put the right pieces around Luka and LeBron. Like, we'll see what happens with that whole situation. But it is interesting to watch from afar. And we've lived this a little bit. Someone had a great post on Twitter where that you got Rondo, Avery Bradley, Marcus Smart. And I'm forgetting someone. All these Celtics guards eventually ended up on the Lakers, and Rondo most notably winning a title. And so, I don't know what this will lead to. I don't think the Lakers are at a championship level at the moment, but certainly having someone smart can aid that process. And it's just going to be weird seeing him over there in Laker purple and gold. Just will never sit right, especially with someone who has so much of a history here in Boston. It sent my mind scrambling because right after his draft workout back in 2014, so think about that. Brad's first season, 2013, Celtics only year they didn't make the playoffs, and ironically, when Marcus was here, never missed the playoffs. The photo came out of Marcus at the draft workout for the Lakers. The Lakers had the 7th pick. Celtics got him before that at number 6. Never even gave him a chance. But it was always jarring to see Marcus in the Laker workout gear. Now it's going to be a full-blown uniform, and could be very interesting at the TD Garden when that game rolls around. But I tend to be a little bit too emotionally attached to these players, and I tend to take anyone going to the Lakers a little too seriously. So I'll be interested to see what B-Rob thinks about that and what he thinks about the Summer Leaguers and that Ben Simmons rumor. So let's get right to it. Here's my chat with B-Rob. All right, B-Rob, before you jumped on, I was trying to process. Like, I know it sounds weird. I fully admit this. I get too emotionally attached to players. I mean, Robert Williams, chief among them. But like the Marcus Smart news, like hit me weirdly. Like, I don't know. I didn't know how to feel. Like, I've been reminded in the aftermath that we've seen this with Rondo leaves and wins a championship out there. I completely forgot as I was doing the intro. Isaiah Thomas, like another like beloved Celtic, ended his career out there, and we kind of understood all that. Avery Bradley, like there's been no shortage of guys, but why did this? Did this one feel weird at all to you?
A little bit, but more of me was like, I guess, happy for Smart in a way that he found a spot
Right.
that he's going to matter. But it is because it is like with Rondo, those other guys, like they were a few years removed from like the peak of their Celtics existence here, where it feels like Smart was just here
Yeah.
and is still seemingly is in his prime or could be in his prime. Obviously, he's been just hampered by injuries
Mm.
the last couple of years now. Um, but yeah, it was kind of jarring to be like, ooh, yeah, this is like that is
It's
you do not it just it threw me like I kind of it froze me kind of in my tracks over the weekend. I was like, oh wow, like that adds a
It's the
different dimension
Lakers
to it.
too, right?
It's the
Like it's
Lakers.
just like I don't know. I think for those of us who grew up here, there's always that you don't want nice things for the Lakers, and you're right. Like I think the only thing that takes some of the sting out is you're happy for Smart to go from a Memphis team that was just an absolute disaster that year to a fully tanking Wizards team. This is a real opportunity for him to really jumpstart his career again, and maybe get back in the public conscience a little bit more than maybe that people have forgotten how good he can be. He is a little bit older. I'll be interested to see what his role is there. But like Bakers can't be choosers. They need bodies, right? Like, is
No,
LeBron going to be there? I got
I
no clue.
know that's
So,
where was the LeBron recruitment during this? We haven't heard reports about that yet.
I wondered that too, right? Like, does that like make LeBron want to stay more? Does it like I don't know? It's impossible to read that situation. He's going to do whatever he wants to do anyway. But it does take a team with Luca and make it better. And it's just still jarring to me. I was thinking about it too. We've only gotten that one game where he came back with Memphis. Obviously they went down there. He was injured. Never with the Wizards. It's still going to be weird when they have that full on Marcus Smart diving on the floor, doing something crazy against the Jays or whatever case might be, and to do it in Celtic Lakers will just elevate it just a little bit more.
Yeah, there was when he comes back to the Garden, there's like, oh yeah, there's no question, no matter what uniform he's wearing, like he's going to
Yeah.
get plenty of cheers. Now, like the Lakers is the one test, if you will, on that front. So I don't know. Part of me though, if you're looking at like what's worst case scenario for Smart to go right now, I'd be like
Mm,
the Knicks or something like that, something in the
yeah.
East, because at least like the Lakers are the Lakers, but at least that's like a fun visit, like once or twice a year. They're not. I don't think they're true to contenders either at this point, even
Absolutely.
though they're trying to be. And like I said, like he's going to be the dynamic of him with LeBron and Luca and all the the baggage they have out there, if you will, right now. And even JJ Redick. I mean, remember like him and Redick did that.
Oh
He was on
yeah.
that podcast here where they made the compilation of his flopping and stuff like that. So
Ooh. Ooh.
I wonder what the dynamic of like obviously Redick has a ton of respect for Smart, and I'd imagine vice versa. But this was a place at least for Smart where it's like, all right, like I can go there. I should be in the closing five if I play like
Mm.
if we go 2 years ago, playing like that guy again, and he's a guy who just I feel like he likes to be kind of in it, if you will,
Yeah.
and that's like
Fair.
that's as relevant a team again. It's not making it any more fun to watch from afar
Mm.
and hear, but it's nice to see him like for the even though now we can't throw him around in I guess other trade
Yeah.
scenarios that would have inevitably been there for the next few months.
Right. I was gonna say like it was one of my favorite go-tos. I always worried that the Lakers would get Robert Williams and after the Mark Williams disaster last year and everything. And so
What is
I'm
better for you though? Would you have taken? Is this better than Robb as a
Yeah, oh,
Laker?
definitely. Like again, I feel like this is a chance, and maybe I'll feel the same way wherever Rob ends up because they'll just and maybe it's Portland. Like maybe Portland like is legit good this year, and like turns a corner, and they've got some veteran guys now with Lillard and Drew, and like I don't know, we'll see what happens out there. But I do hope that Rob gets thrust back into high level competitive basketball and stays healthy. All the same thing that we're hoping for Smart. It's just weird, and it's just I don't know. Purple and gold is just weird. The other one, and you wrote about this today. Kind of out of nowhere, Ben Simmons rumor bubbles up. Is the most prolific three-point shooting team in the NBA really going to add the guy who hasn't shot more than 11 in a season?
Oh man, I mean, it's like the Joe part of this equation would be fascinating to see. It's I think you look at it from two different ways.
Hmm.
And one, you look at what they've done this offseason of being like, okay, we need to find the next diamond in the rough.
Yep.
And we got Garza, we got Minot. We obviously made, Gonzalez had a solid summer league, but there's still just a big, big void like for where Tatum's minutes would have been this year. And Simmons does a lot of like obviously doesn't do anything nearly as well as Tatum does, but does some of this. He at least has that like
Sure.
size and can rebound and can pass or and obviously can't do anything else Tatum can. But um, I don't know. This is like whether
I'm torn like you. I don't mean to jump in, but like I'm the same way where every time I just want to dismiss it and be like, this makes no sense. The other part of me says, this is why the Celtics have to take random swings. And this is why
right.
you make the call on Damian Lillard. This is why you maybe make a call on a Ben Simmons. It's like beggars can't be choosers. It goes back
No,
to like what I keep saying, right? Like if you think that the Celtics are still at least in the mix with Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Peyton Pritchard in that core, and I think you feel pretty good about that, then every piece you can add gives you at least a little bit better chance. And I think we know like Brad doesn't tank. Now that will be put to the could be put to the test this year. We'll see what happens when and if they have to cross that bridge about how competitive they are. But yeah, like I don't hate the idea of trying to find a couple of those guys that you're just like, hey, there's opportunity. Do you want it? You know, we all balked when Evan Turner came in, and then he
right.
turned
It's a
into
perfect
a
example.
$75 million player. And so I get it on the surface. It's just funny because like Celtics, and this happens invariably. Like Celtics fans spend all this time making fun of somebody, and then it's like now they're on your team, and you're like, hey, it's our guy. It's no
Come
big
on
deal. We
in.
were, all those jokes. We were just kidding. I'd probably do the same thing. I don't know, but I just don't know if you're ever going to fully tap into it. I think the one thing that you always worry about is just how much is his head into it and all that. It just hasn't happened, and none of these stops. But you know, you see this across the league. Everyone thinks they can turn the guy around a little bit, and maybe the Celtics are just like in a year that's going to get a little weird. Maybe you take some weird swings.
Yeah, the Simmons dynamic of it. I think that the Evan Turner comparison is perfect. The but Simmons is 29 now,
Yeah.
and so it's like you look at it, and it's like, is he just? He obviously played some meaningful basketball with the Clippers last year, but then he fell out of the rotation in the playoffs when push came to shove. Now the question is like, all right, do you give him like full freedom with Boston because this team could seemingly I would feel like need some of that like outside
Mhm.
of there's obviously a clear spots in the rotation if you will and after the top 6 7 guys in this team, um, or is he just a guy now that's like damaged goods.
Mm.
And there's for the reasons that Celtics fans have been making fun of him for the last 5 years. So that to me, that's the fine line at this point. But at the minimum, like it's like you said, you're taking
Yeah.
swings at this point, and you all really need to feel like Chris. You just need one of these guys to hit,
Hmm.
like because with the pieces they still have in place here, you're keeping Derek White, you're keeping Jaylen Brown, you have Pritchard, Hauser. Hopefully you can hold on to too. So if you get one of these wings hit, whether it's the summer league guys, whether it's Minot, whether it's a Ben Simmons type, and then you have them under contract for beyond this season, that's when you put yourself in a situation where you can turn around for next season and put your best foot forward once Tam gets back on the court.
Well, you are transitioning perfectly. Summer League, you were out there. Were you out there for the Josh Minot interview?
Yes,
Uh,
love him. Love. Give me
r-
more of
r-
Josh Minot.
Rocketed to the top. And I hate like this is our I can't believe this is like the ninth Rob Williams reference I'm going to make here. But when you probably remember this, like when Rob first got here, he was very unfiltered. Like every other word was a swear. I think you probably heard my story where like Austin Ainge pulls him aside and is like, Rob, you don't have to curse this much. And he actually listened. He like stopped cursing. Uh, but he was always just very blunt and I love so I got those vibes watching Minot sit there and say they take a bleep ton of threes and bleep this and bleep that. Is he gonna rocket to the top of the Chris Forsberg hype train?
He's already yeah. It's
Yes.
it's a runaway. It's not even close
The
because
lawnmower is ready to ride.
this is like you need to get him on the podcast immediately, and I can't wait. You have one-on-ones with everyone on media day. Like you need to just block off like 15 minutes
Yeah, that's a good
because he's
call.
short and sweet. He's
Right.
not gonna give you a long stuff, but he's a straight shooter, and he's gonna
That
be dropping s bombs all over the place.
I was watching it from afar and I was riveted for the 2.5 minutes that you guys had and I was like This guy could be fun. And I really like the upside too. Like him and Garza, like again, I don't know how it's gonna play out. But you know what? Like the Celtics obviously see something in him. And I like that he was out there at Summer League and just saying hello and getting these things done and getting rolling. And yeah, that interview got me excited. But you know, he obviously did not see the floor of those guys that you did see out there. What's your biggest overreaction? Give me something to be irrationally either hyped or dismissive of. You can go either way.
Oof.
Like, what's
I
your
mean,
biggest takeaway? Like, if B Rob's doing biggest summer takeaways, and maybe you already wrote this for MassLive, like, what was number one?
Scheierman looked really good except for the shot. Like
Mm,
the intangibles for Scheierman of like the rebounding, the running the pick and roll stuff, um, the aggressive defense, if you will. Like he kind of played like
yeah.
the amount of times he went for like I don't know if that's gonna work actually in NBA games, like going behind the back of someone
The,
like
the the
trying to
gambling was like almost irrational at one point. Like, I know it's
so,
Vegas, but you can't gamble that
I know
much.
that's like we're gonna reel that in a little bit, bro. You can't let them. You're not gonna be dealing with ball handlers that will or that bad. You can let you
Hmm.
that, but that part of his game was all like, which I think is pretty important. Of like the
Mm.
jump shot. I mean, he is going to have to make some of those, and I don't think it. You know, it's not great that he shot whatever it was, probably sub 30%. But if he can run the offense with the second unit in stretches as a ball
Hmm.
handler, and also provide some valuable rebounding, which I think is going to be kind of an underrated storyline for this team. Like who's going to rebound
Yeah.
when, especially if when Nemi's out the floor.
Jeez, I hadn't
Um,
thought about that. I wonder what
because
percent. I'm gonna have to go through now and calculate the percent. I was always done like the percentage of big man minutes they've lost, and it's like it's 4,500 minutes. And if you add Tatum, it gets to 6,000
right.
minutes. It's crazy, but yeah, the percentage of defensive rebounds lost has to be just off the charts.
I would put it at like
It's gonna be 60
60%,
something,
60, yeah,
70%.
exactly.
Yeah.
60% net. That's your Augs com right there. Um, so yeah, so if you they're gonna need it's gonna be gang rebounding. And so if he can he's able to do that sort of stuff and he was ambitious with the shots, and so that's why you're like, all right, well, he's not gonna be taking those type of shots when he's on the floor with like
Mm,
Derek White. But if you put Peyton Pritchard in the starting five, which I guess is an open debate of like if Simons is
right.
here, like who, both those guys are going to play plenty of minutes. But if you hand the if you can hand the keys to the second unit a little bit to Shireman instance, he showed himself, I think, worthy of being able to kind of run that show to a degree, as long as the shot making comes around to a reasonable degree. So I was encouraged from that standpoint from him. And then beyond that, I mean, Gonzalez, I just love the motor.
Yes.
Like he gets after it. He cuts a ton, which I think people would love to
Matters.
see. Matters a lot. There's just that's like an instinctual thing. I feel like for a lot of these guys, and so if you're just born to do that coming into the league, that's just an easy way to get offense on a team like this, where they're going to have guys like White, Brown, and Tam just getting
Mm.
the attention of defenses. And so yeah, those are the two main things there of what stood out. And it's between those guys and Jordan Walsh. I think it's gonna be a great training camp to see who emerges from that group
Right.
to make an impression on Joe Mazzulla and actually come out of the gate in the rotation.
Yeah, and very rarely do we come out of summer league and say like someone has a leg up on that. You'd really have to dominate. And maybe we thought, Walsh being year three might be a little bit more, dominant, didn't have a great start, but seemed to really lock in. I honestly think that ejection was the best thing that could have happened to
Yeah,
him.
right. Yeah,
Because not only did like is it endearing for Joe, and it's a funny thing to like say, and you could see Brad was like calm down and like also please don't steamroll the new owner or throw or yeet the other Pell Larson into him. But I did like that he kind of saw in that moment that's his pathway. He has to play with like that relentless energy and that sort of competitiveness, and that was the billing coming in and like his violent defense, and we just haven't seen that enough from Jordan. And I thought Jordan really made a case last training camp and then kind of obviously faded. Gonna if he's got to kick down that door or put down that gas pedal and keep that gas pedal down. But I agree. The only other person I'd throw on that list, and obviously like it's so funny that Bassie was like just maybe the biggest
oh yeah. I mean
storyline at the
that's
start here, but
right.
I think we all understand that situation. But Amari Williams actually, the passing held up to what the scouting report said, and very, very raw in other areas. And I don't know where the offense is going to come from. Even he seems to acknowledge he's got to improve just being strong with the basketball and finishing and all that. But I do like you can see there's something there. And I think I always say summer league doesn't tell you who's going to be good, but you get exposed pretty quickly if you're not going to be good. And I
Yes.
thought they saw there's something there, and I'll be interested to see just how much, does he spend a lot of time with Boston? Not a lot of bigs, but there's going to be opportunity to sort of mold that, and eager to see. But I'm with you on like Ugo was everything I kind of expected. With the motor is relentless. Same deal, like got to get better with ball security and all that. But it's summer league. I'm not going to hold it against a guy playing his first NBA games at 19 and being a little loose with the ball. I love like he attacks and he spins and he Euro steps and he's really creative. Same deal. I think there's really something to tap into there. Any any of these dudes have a chance to make it out of camp? And outside of those, the core guys, like, did anyone else like, I was trying to talk myself into Hicks yesterday, and Brown, and like, there's guys that were intriguing to me. I just don't know if, obviously the Celtics are already they're maxed out on two ways,
Right.
and I don't know like what the pathway is unless there's some real turnover with whatever comes next in the roster construction.
Yeah, I mean, for guys like that, they had a very talented summer league team of like guys, non-roster guys of real NBA experience. Whether it was like Brown, like even Bridges was on 2A
Yeah,
with the Suns last year. I imagine maybe those guys like on exhibit tens in camp to like, hey, you could if
sure.
you play like everyone. We'll see what happens to the roster in the next couple of months. We'll see. We might have a couple more roster spots available here. Um, but ultimately, I think it's going to be tough because you're committed with your two-way guys. Like I think Shulga and Williams will be secure there. Miles Norris is a fascinating case. I thought
Yeah.
he had an okay summer league. But you signed him last year when things were thinking much different about what this year
Hmm.
was going to look like. And he's 25. So I could see them maybe they want to go younger, just a different mode of player in that spot. But he's also like you need shooting, and that's
Yeah.
something that he can provide you on that front. Um, and the bad situation, it kind of is what it is. It's like I guess you look at guys like that. It's any guy like that. I was a non-guaranteed player and wanted to get into a camp. I want to get into a camp
Yeah.
with the Celtics right now, whether you're a wing or a big.
100%. I figured that was the whole reason he was going with
Yeah,
Boston, and it was a little surprising that, look, and maybe all he needed was 3 games. I don't know if there was anything else fast
probably.
he could have done that would have like changed anybody else, but I'll be interested to see what the market is as teams kind of complete their rosters, and would it be better for him to just like come to camp with a team like Boston and have an opportunity, or will there be something out there? And look, there's a lot of money overseas, so like I don't
Right.
discount people wanting to go over there either. A little bit fascinating. My only other takeaway was, did we get a glimpse of like how they're going to play next year? Like more
Yeah.
cutting, more full court press or three-quarter court press. I feel like sometimes when you're trying to mask the talent deficiency or the talent drain from as you navigate without Tatum, maybe you just play harder, play like more physical. Like maybe there's some stuff there that Joe leans into.
I think like you have to, especially the turnover stuff on like forcing turnovers.
Yeah. Oh,
They've
so
been
true.
really low for years now, and it makes sense. We're like, all right, we have a back line we can depend on. That back line is out in different parts of the country right now, so you need to. You're not going to be able to hold up defensively for 24 seconds. I think a ton. So and guys like Pritchard, guys like Derek White, obviously, and Jalen when he wants to get into guys as a defender,
Hmm.
like they can create some havoc there. So I think we're gonna see plenty of that because that's like why not lean? I think like and you thought teams like the Pacers like just do that.
Hmm.
People didn't think they don't have a great defense team, but they were able to kind of break out those sort of tactics that worked pretty well throughout the course of the postseason. So I look at that, and then the pace for Forsberg. My God, like they were
Oof.
running on everything, and that's going to be fun to watch because again with Pritchard, very White, with Jalen Brown for like years has been begging them to like go faster, go faster, go faster, and now they'll put out the red card for him because that's like all right, you guys want to win 45, 50 games in the East, like I think that's the path to being able to do it this year.
I love it. Somewhere Tommy is smiling down from the heavens and
Right.
run, run. Like it could be. And I keep telling people, I think it's gonna be more fun than they think. And I'm just eager to see how it looks once you have your stars out there and how these guys who wants to emerge. Plenty of opportunity here. Let's end on this. 2 months ago we were sitting there in New York and we said it was going to be a weird summer. I think we nailed it. I was trying to think if you told me like today, like this is what the roster would look like, how would I feel? I would have probably been like, yeah, okay, that makes some sense. I still don't feel settled with it. When do you think the next shoe drops?
I think the next shoe is going to drop. My guess would be at some point this summer, or maybe going into camp. It takes that long where teams want to like look at
Yeah.
their roster. But I do think they're in a place, and if where they did, I think the toughest part
Right.
early, and now they can kind of pick their spots a little bit more
Yeah.
in terms of bringing guys into camp. But I think there is a line of knowing, like, it kind of reminds me of the 14-15 season, if you will, where I think the roster is going to be. I think that was the year they traded Rondo,
Yep.
and then they got Isaiah, and things kind of came together. So like in terms of the roster being in flux during the year,
I like it.
so I think that is like, obviously this is a much better team than that was, and so won't see the amount of moves that does, but in terms of like just the maneuvering to kind of set up the future, I think will be in play during this year, and who knows, like they can go on the tail. But I'm with you, like with the way to be able to move those guys without
Hmm.
anything attached to them, I think is a win. And they got guys back where you potentially could be useful for you or useful in another deal. So they have optionality, if you will, and
Yes.
that's, I think, a good place to be.
And I think that flexibility is the key. And as you said, I can see in season tinkering. I can see before the season tinkering. I think they're in a spot where they can sort of feel out what they got and then maneuver as need be. I thought it was pretty telling. I forget if it was before you guys went out there or maybe when Brad spoke out there. But when he said, we don't want to attach picks to move
Right.
off money, I think that was telling. It was like, okay, we're not, I know everyone's like me and you are probably sitting here saying Simons might not make the final roster, but what they're hinting is, all right, we're not going to attach picks to get off the salary. We're going to figure this thing out, but it's not going to come at the expense of the future. And so
Do
I
you
just
want
keep,
them to get under the tax, though, to just like to save that money for next year, if you will? That's the fascinating debate to me.
I'm gonna whisper this. We'll see. Like I think I see great benefit to getting under the tax. Also see great benefit to getting into the season and sort of figuring out what you got. Like,
Yeah.
I'll just keep saying, I don't think the roster is settled, no matter what Brad Stevens says. If this is the roster on July 21st that we see on October 21st, I would be very surprised. If this is the roster that we see on February 21st, I would be super surprised.
Yes.
And so, we'll see. Again, I think optionality is the best way to put it. They have paths, they have routes, they have options, and we'll stay busy. You might have to come back on this podcast and talk more about moves when they happen.
Hopefully it holds up for 24 hours here, but yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. I know that was my big jinx. Like, if I just like if some move comes out 3 minutes after this podcast ends, that would be the Chris Forsberg way. Brian, Robb, MassLive, 98.5 The Sports Hub, all that. Thank you for your time.